Nintendo Direct leaks. So I don't know about that date thing you brought up, so you're gonna have to bring that up. But
it's in the notes. But
is it? Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, I actually have the most notes for that one in case someone grabbed it that didn't know anything.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I actually have a lot of notes for the direct. It doesn't quite have everything, but it's got enough that anyone could have led that topic.
Okay, So, all right. Okay, I see that. I see this now.
Yeah,
all right,
there's a link to the source to it.
All right, I'll get to that part. Right, that's probably the part that people care about the most. So, as a YouTuber, I'll say it for last. So, yeah. Anyways,
YouTuber.
I mean, I would argue that it's about the journey, not the destination. Anyway, I think it's been a really interesting last couple weeks in the terms of like the rumor leak scenario. And I think what's interesting about a lot of the leaks, most of them are coming from Midori. Midori is considered, I would argue, is literally the best leaker of all time, and it's not even close. Like, some people would like to put Pioro above Midori because of their accuracy regarding Nintendo. However, here's the thing. Pioro, while there is like a 98.9% like reliability rating or something like that, right? If we were to literally pull everything they said, and when they've been wrong, it's little things.
It's like an interpretation.
Right, exactly, right. Yeah. It's not that they have false.
It was not like a blatant, right? Just lied. Yeah,
yeah. But the thing about Pioro is that Pioro only talks about things when they're imminent. So what that means is like literally about to happen, right? Midori, on the other hand, not only goes beyond Nintendo. First off, right? Midori talks about Sega, Atlas, Square Enix, and now Nintendo, but they're talking about things. We don't know how far in advance, things that are imminent, things that aren't imminent. So they have a much wider breadth while still maintaining that level of reliability. So to me, when we shouldn't be ranking them, but I'm just kind of talking about it on this way because I would put Midori on an even greater level than Pioro in terms of like, leaker, right? And like you can go on their Twitter feed and you will see things that they are getting right recently. Like the one thing that comes to mind to me, they talked about how there's going to be a Bleach game coming to Switch. A few days later, confirmed, right? Like, so like you can see the trail. It's there for you to go and take a look for yourself, right? So it's not like, oh, they say so many things and we're still waiting. Oh, these things are happening.
Yeah, she said a lot of things, but every week, one or two of those things gets announced. It's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, and so it's been like this for a while, right? Anyways, so all of a sudden over the last few weeks, Midori has started talking about a bevy of Nintendo codename projects. Now, there's room for interpretation for what these projects are for. I think a lot of people seem to be in agreement for what these different codename products are for, right? Like, for example, there's a legacy project that's being made by Monolith Soft. That's a Nintendo studio, the studio behind Xenoblade, and is also doing support for Zelda, Animal Crossing, and Splatoon. Most people seem to be in agreement that's definitely coming to Switch too, right? But technically, we don't know that for a fact, right? That's just kind of something we assume. But then we also have another leak. This is one of the first ones from Midori that's for Banquet that's being made by ND Cube and also like a smaller support studio that basically this combination of studios makes the Mario Party games, right? And Banquet is related to Super Mario Party because Super Mario Party had the code name for Buffet. And so most people seem to be of the mind that that's a Mario Party game coming out this year because it kind of matches the pattern. And that seems like something that's safer to predict for this year for Switch 1 before we move on to Switch 2 next year. But there's room for interpretation there is the point, right? So like you can call it an Nintendo Direct leak, but we're not 100% sure it's an Nintendo Direct leak. It's just a game leak. Most of us think it's probably Mario Party. And there's a pretty good chance it's going to be in the Direct, but maybe it's a next year thing. We're not 100% certain. There is, however, a game that has been leaked specifically for the Nintendo Direct, and that is Dragon Quest 1-3 Remake. The entire Erdrick like storyline, apparently, that's coming, and it's going to be in the Nintendo Direct. Now, technically, we knew about this a few years ago. It was announced, but it was just the third one, and now it's been delayed and it's been reworked, and now they're remaking all first three. So that's pretty cool, and apparently we're going to see in the Direct. So that's supposedly a big leak. And by the way, That's the Team Asano game, right? So finally a prediction. I don't know if you guys had the same prediction, but I was predicting Team Asano would have a game this year. If that leak proves to be true, then there we got that. But beyond that, there's a lot of other stuff that's debatable, right? Like there's some of this ties into the Switch 2 stuff, right? Like we have the Mario codename leak, we have the Silver Star thing, which I've theorized is Donkey Kong, but that's a whole other conversation. Then there's just so many. There is the Spiral code name, which is apparently for the next entry is Splatoon, which is another one of those things where most of us will assume it's for Switch 2, but technically we don't know, right? And then there is this other one that is a code name Anna. Codename Anna.
Yeah.
And so that is seemingly for a follow-up to Switch Sports, because Switch Sports was Elsa Anna from Frozen. That seems to be the connection there. And also, that's something that I think most people would agree is likely a Switch 2 thing. But again, we're not 100% certain there. Now, something that I think is probably a Switch 1 project, but again, we don't know for certain, is arguably one of the most hype code names that we've seen come up from these Midori leaks. And it's one relating to
Zelda.
Yes. And the code name is Edward, if I'm not mistaken. And so what's interesting about this, right? And maybe it's not something that everyone is aware of, right? When we go into all the code names for the different Zelda games, they all pertain to royalty. Now, a lot of the bigger 3D Zelda games have to do with like playing card royalty, like Jack, Queen, King, things like that, Joker. And like the Breath of the Wild line is King, right? But when it comes to the 2D Zelda games, they actually use names and royalty. Now, some people have looked like for random side characters in these games and like, oh, that's why that's a code name, because there is like a random side character in Link's Awakening that's Richard, and that is the code name for Link's Awakening. I personally think it just has more to do with royalty, and something that people may not be aware of, right, is that Edward and Richard are actually brothers. There's a story of the two princes in the tower, Edward and Richard, and well, they died. They were murdered because after their father, supposedly, we don't know why they died. They disappeared, right? It's a mystery, right? This is a factual event, and their uncle became king. Most people presume it's like, some sort of like political sort of thing that occurred there. But the point is, there is a story about two brothers in royalty, Edward and Richard. These are common names in royalty. There's also another one. There's Alice. Is it Alice or Anna? I'm confusing them because I think Anna is the Elsa, and Anna are from Frozen, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but there's Triforce Heroes had the code name for Alice, and that's another common name in royalty. So the point is that the implication of this code name is that not only is it a Zelda game because it's based off royalty, but because they're using a name from royalty as opposed to like a playing card, that goes with the pattern of it being some type of 2D Zelda entry. Not necessarily a remake, because we've seen things like Triforce Heroes, but it could be. What's also interesting, though, when you go back to Midori's tweet, he not only refers to the code name, but he alludes how this could be connected to recent Zelda rumors. But what Zelda rumors would he be referring to? Well, where things get a little deeper here, he's not talking about his own rumor or a leak of the King Breath of the Wild remaster thing. The only other Zelda rumor that's out there that's kind of relevant is what stemmed from Papa Genos' post on Twitter, where most people interpreted it to be a hint because literally he took the time to capitalize only specific letters in this paragraph, where he was talking about how he would like Zelda to be playable in a game soon, now being the time, and the letters that he capitalized spell out the sentence, "This is a hint." And then later on in a podcast, he basically verified that that is indeed what he was getting at, but it wasn't related to the Breath of the Wild thing. This would be its own thing. However, he then did his own Nintendo Direct predictions, and in the predictions video, he just referred to it as speculation based off research and rumors, and a lot of people were kind of put off by this. Nate, I haven't gotten a chance to see like what your thoughts on this, right? But my perspective on what Papa Genos did is just because I've sometimes been told things, sometimes have been told things, right? And it's just kind of like sometimes I'm just very careful about the wording. because I can't say everything, and that's why I think it came out weird, but we don't know for certain. But the fact that Midori seems to kind of think there's something to the Zelda rumors, and we have this code name, and I just think it makes sense for there to be something to the Zelda this year, given the circumstances of the ending of the generation, and we need something new from Nintendo.
That'll be awesome.
I think we're getting 2D Zelda this year.
Hopefully, it's another remake like Link's Awakening, but with another Oracle Season of Ages, or Link to the Past, something like that.
There's also a possibility that Midori, and we don't know if this is direct related, but she also said directly responding to someone that I have no idea why Nintendo hasn't released Twilight Princess yet.
Oh, that's
suggesting
a whole other
conversation. Maybe that she even knows too that that's done, but just like Jeff Grubb and everyone else, no one knows why the hell these games haven't come.
Yeah, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, like from all that's another insider that's been like, yep, the way it was referred to, it's as if they knew it existed, but they just don't know why.
Nobody knows why Nintendo hasn't brought them out. Yeah,
Emily Rogers, when she was a leaker before, spoke about those games that were
she might have been the first. I don't know.
Once upon a time,
long time ago.
Back in the day,
she spoke about Metroid Prime. That one came to pass, and she said they were sitting on the other games. They were sitting on it for a year.
Her final leak was that they would end the Switch generation with a ton of GameCube ports and remasters.
Wow,
it's exactly what has been happening, like to a T. Like, so
I'll just say that was kind of fairly predictable though, based off how they handled 3DS. But
speaking of 3DS,
I'm not saying I think Emily Rogers is legit. I'm just saying that
That's all. It always to me, it's one of those things that a lot of these GameCube games, just haven't been touched at all in so long. So it made some sense, but also I would say that some of the ones they chose were surprising because they could.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose they could have done.
Ones.
They didn't have to go to GameCube, but GameCube just makes.
Lot of sense. They literally could have just did more 3DS games.
Yeah, I mean, they are doing 3DS games.
Yeah, but just not as many. Not quite as many.
I think that Paper Mario game is actually Island Tour from 3DS.
What?
That Paper Mario game that you guys are talking about in the leak or whatever? That you think it's a Paper Mario game that's coming?
What are you talking about?
So you mentioned in the round of the leaks that you mentioned, there were you mentioned.
You mean the Mario Party?
Mario Party.
Paper Mario Party, yeah, that one.
Okay.
Did I say Paper Mario?
Yeah.
I've made that mistake before.
Yeah, I was playing it before. Yeah, so that's why I say it. But Mario Party Island Tour, because there was the updated trademark for that one registered on April 23rd, 2024 for Mario Party Island Tour. That's for the 3DS, so that could be like a port.
Who knows?
Hey, I saw your video on that.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, absolutely. And like a thing to remember too is like, and this is Switch related and could theoretically be direct related because even though they said, primarily focused on games, in the second half of 2024, we always know primarily, okay, there could be one or two that's not for this year. Mm-hmm. And Switch is assuredly going to still, I know people are like, oh, why would if Switch 2's out in March, why would there still be games on Switch? They're not going to just not release games on a system that has the biggest install base. They're just going to, their biggest big brand new games are going to be for the new thing to push sales. But like PH Brazil was out there. He's one of the lead guys on the whole, hey, it's coming in March, is put out there that, hey, he knows about a 3DS and a GameCube remaster that's coming out after April of 2025. Potentially those games could be teased here as well. And those could be like anything because what have they been doing? 3DS and GameCube games. So like,
yeah.
Those of you that want Kirby Planet Robobot, it is possible.
Yeah,
you ready?
I'll say with the Brazil thing, I just kind of think like, okay, like of course we're gonna get more remasters later on, but
yeah,
right,
he seemed to hint that he knows what it is, but I think he just I think he's curious if Nintendo's going to announce it this month or not.
Man, I just saw today a video. I think you probably saw it before. Of a person who made the Zelda 1 remake top down. It looks incredible. I mean, I'm not sure. They probably using maybe the models from Link's Awakening a little bit for the land and everything, but Zelda 1 remade top down looks crazy. So,
is that a NES hack, by the way?
It's an NES. No,
is that?
It's a guy who has.
It's like is it like a PC remake that some fan did?
I think it's a PC remake. Yeah. Yeah, one of those PC remakes. He made Zelda 1. It was out but within the last 2 weeks. I can share the link with you.
Is it taken down yet?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Ooh. Ooh.
You know what? Let me go ahead and get that link for you.
Yeah.
Get that link
It
before
will be
it's-
it will be
before
taken
it's
down
shut
after it
down.
shows on
Yeah.
this show. No.
It'll be taken off quick. So I try to get those downloaded immediately.
That's why he's like, hold on. Like, give me it before it's gone.
I'll put that with my Link's Awakening one that came out a few months ago.
Yeah.
What was there something else you were going to say, Steve? Because I know I cut you off earlier.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say thank you. Earlier today, so I was just kind of refreshing on some old E3 memories, and I know we'll talk about that in a moment, but I was looking at E3 2004. It's so funny, man. Paper Mario, Thousand Year Door, 20 years ago. It was at E3 2004. Metroid Prime 2, E3 2004. And don't we all suspect that we're getting Metroid Prime 2 this year? Most likely.
Yeah.
There were just so many games that were at E3 20 years ago.
It's still alive.
And I'm seeing the sizzle reel. I'm like, these are games that we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. This
Yeah.
is so funny. Here we are 20 years later. And I got to imagine that's why, when we're talking about pulling from GameCube, it's like these games are 20 years old. They got to introduce them to a new generation.
I just feel like GameCube is so much better than Wii in terms of like
Oh yeah.
the games.
Controls
I mean,
too.
Maybe there's some I don't know if you call it recency bias or a generation bias or what have you, but I don't know. Like my perspective is that we are talking more about like a lot of these classic GameCube games than we are about Wii games. Like I'm not saying there aren't Wii games. I'm like, man, that was really good. There's a lot, but I feel like for GameCube, there's just so many, and the variety is stronger. And maybe that's kind of part of what it is. It almost feels like after the GameCube, Nintendo went a certain way and didn't experiment as much, if that makes any sense. Now, it may sound odd because you could argue that from a hardware perspective, Nintendo was very experimental.
Yeah.
And they introduced a lot of new series like the sports series and things like that. But we stopped getting. When was the last time we got a brand new Star Fox? The GameCube, right? Not counting Command, but that was on DS. The last time we got a brand new console, F-Zero, the GameCube, right? There are things like Custom Robo, like that we haven't gone. Like a lot of these smaller franchises had a lot more of a presence on the GameCube, and I don't know. It kind of seems like Nintendo's moved away from some of their smaller IP. I'm not saying they don't do them. It just kind of seems like they don't do them as often.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's interesting too is True Dude just dropped a $5 super chat, and he said, Luigi's Mansion 1 for GameCube Shadow Drop.
That's
and
my prediction.
I can't even rule that out. Like, yeah, they could do it.
I
even though
believe
they're
it.
building up this hype to 2, it would be crazy if they just Shadow Drop that. This
Why did they
month.
release Pikmin 1 and 2 before Pikmin 4?
Yeah, and they're just not packaging these together, right? Or maybe, possibly, the Shadow Drop is that it is packed in with Luigi's Mansion 2, and they just didn't talk about it. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be wild, but I doubt that.
What if the Shadow Drop is GameCube putting Nintendo Switch Online, and then they add Luigi's Mansion 1 to GameCube at that point?
I just don't think that.
I wonder. Is it going to be with Switch 2 though? Is what I wonder as well.
I don't. The thing is,
this is my argument for that, for like the Switch 2 thing. I think that NSO is a separate thing from Switch, right? I think it's a service, an online service, like download an app and the Switch. So
yeah,
when I say they add GameCube, I'm not seeing as okay. Maybe they might leave it for the Switch. Maybe that's a selling point. But if they add it to NSO, people on Switch will also have GameCube access, just like in Switch 2, because it's like a separate service. It's their streaming service and their console service. So like their retro library and then their Nintendo Switch games and releases that they have on their Switch. That's how I've always seen it. So that's why my prediction said, oh yeah, well, we might get GameCube, is because I've never seen it like, oh wait, the Switch has limited power to have this on there. I don't think it does. It's a GameCube game.
Oh no, they could totally run the game.
Yeah.
Like that's not an issue. I mean, there's a little bit of an issue of like controls because the Switch doesn't have analog triggers, but there's enough extra buttons on the Switch controller that they can come up with like they can have a customization set up
Yeah.
to kind of make up for it.
Mhm.
It's Mario Sunshine in 3D All Stars. That's a GameCube game running on
Yeah.
Switch controls, and it does work. You just have to play around with the shoulder buttons a little differently. So
Yeah.
it's manageable. I just feel like Nintendo is gonna not do it for money reasons. Like they can get these GameCube remasters for a few years, but I do think it's GameCube's gonna happen, just maybe like years from now. And at that point, Switch One will be irrelevant.
Yeah. Well, but
We'll see what happens. Like
Yeah,
the thing is, there's so much stuff going around for the possibilities for the direct, and I do think the chances of all the things that we think will be in the direct being there is always pretty slim. We always have these predictions, and though they don't all make it, some don't. There'll be a lot of indies and third party games we're not even bringing up.
can you imagine?
But
Right.
there are probably some crazy predictions that no one will believe, and those are going to be the ones that come true, and the
Yeah.
ones that we think make the most sense don't
Right.
come true.
Watch this Tamagotchi Life, and we have Kirby Planet Robobots now. These are like the big ones coming the second half of this year. I mean, here's the thing. I think a lot of us go, well, look, if this is the last dedicated Switch Direct, not the last time Switch games show up in a Direct,
Yeah.
but the last one that's only Switch games, potentially. Some people think there might be teases for games that could end up being on Switch 2 and Switch, but
Yeah.
if
Prime
it's the
4
last,
confirmed cross-gen.
yes,
I don't think they'll confirm. If Prime 4 shows in the direct, I don't think they'll
I don't think they'll
confirm
confirm cross-gen right now. That would be something
Yeah.
confirmed when they reveal.
I
stuff,
think
too.
I think they'll subtly confirm it by telling us the release time.
Yeah, but
We'll
then
see.
again, Furukawa did confirm there was a next gen system, so they could say available on Nintendo Switch and on next gen system.
They could.
Why
It
not?
would just
Or they
technically
could just have the
go-
Switch logo since it was already announced for Switch and just leave it at that.
Yeah, they don't have to say anything.
Or they could just have no logos and then everyone starts speculating anyways.
Oh, that's a good way to do
Or
it.
maybe it's not even there.
it
listen,
might not be.
I don't need a logo. All I need to see is a release date.
Samus.
Like, do they say if it's coming out this year? Then the answer is no. If they say 2025, then to me the answer is an obvious yes.
Mm.
Well, we'll see. Because again,
Yeah.
we also don't technically know when Switch 2 is coming. Switch 2 could be holiday
Sure.
next year.
That's totally true, but I doubt that.
I doubt it too, but remember, I also doubted that it wasn't coming out this year at one point. So
Absolutely,
could be holiday, could be 2026, which
nothing
I don't
is
think.
confirmed.
Don't
Listen,
think 2026.
Listen,
but
even sometimes when Nintendo tells us things, that doesn't mean it's like 100%. It's
I'm just gonna go with this.
I agree.
Furukawa has not lied to me yet. Yet.
Yeah,
That's the key word is yet.
yeah,
Yeah, he's been president. I mean, you argue he's been president long enough to lie, but he hasn't. In fact, he also gets into rumor denying, which no other previous president did. So
And he's
I
quick
kind of think that like he might be more of a stand-up bloke when it comes to this stuff, but we'll see.
You know
We'll
what I
see.
always think about is Reggie when he was directly asked if they have anything new coming, and he said no. And
Oh, I don't
literally-
believe Jack. I don't believe anything out of Doug Bowser's mouth. He was directly trained by Reggie.
Yeah, what was it? The next day? The next day he unveiled the 3DS.
Yeah, it was literally like the next day or a few days later. It was insane.
Yeah.
We have no plans for a new model of 3DS. A few days later, new Nintendo 3DS on his. What the?
Yeah.
What are you
that's
doing, man? You
classic.
just told us it's not happening. You
Ever
could have
since
just
then.
like
Listen.
I don't know what else he was supposed to say, knowing that they were going to reveal it in a few days. Like, what are you supposed to just say it? Okay, just reveal it now.
I
They're not going
agree.
to fire you for it, but I don't even know what are you supposed to say.
So-
Furukawa did kind of did the same thing to the shareholders during the meeting. He's like, nothing for now. Right on Twitter drop. Switch is coming this year.
Well, what he was trying to tell people is stop overvaluing the company over rumors, because the rumors were this thing's coming in March and blah, blah, and that's not what's happening.
Mhm.
And he knew that. So he's like telling people stop. Like, the only thing you need to pay attention to is what we say on these specific places. And yeah, they're saying, a Nintendo Switch successor is coming. If you want to use that to hype up things in 2025, that would make sense because Nintendo's now giving you a reason. And they said there's going to be some sort of announcement or news this fiscal year. When that news drops, you want to build up, you want to raise our prices, then that's fine. But he was saying, like, dude, people are inflating over all these rumors, and all these rumors thinking it's coming now, and that's not happening. So don't listen to them. So he wasn't
All right,
wrong.
so-
He didn't lie.
Yeah.
There's something I want to dive into because of that thing you mentioned about the date, but I got to get into this part first.
Sure.
This is what's going on with Star Fox Assault right now, because I've noticed a conversation in the chat. I saw a conversation on Twitter. I saw
It's because of Zippo.
Okay.
Mm.
I
It's
did
a
see that
zip
Kid and
over.
Krista did something on
I
Star
saw
Fox
that
Assault as
too.
well.
Yeah.
Now,
Only
I
two.
know that it wasn't a leak. It's just their
No.
own video. And I think it's a slippery slope because everyone likes to think, first off, Kid and Krista, they're amazing. If you're watching this, I think you're amazing. But a lot of people, whenever they talk about something, they put out their own thoughts. It is informed. I think they offer really good predictions. But I think a lot of people like to assume that because they used to work at Nintendo, that whenever they say something, it's a leak. And just because they're like, hey, Star Fox Assault would be cool, they should really remaster this. That doesn't mean Star Fox Assault is 100% getting remastered.
Here's my thing with Kit and Krista. They 100% have friends still that work at Nintendo. Absolutely. They could be told things. I don't think they are. And here's why. They have so much respect for their former employer and their former job, they wouldn't even ask, and the employees they know wouldn't even tell them. So everything they're doing is 100% speculation. It can be maybe informed speculation on things they heard while they worked there, but at this point, that's so many years ago, it's probably not that relevant today. So in the end, I think they have a really good idea of the inner workings of Nintendo. You got to remember, a lot of those inner workings they're experienced are under the Iwata years. So I think that and Reggie, they worked most of their time was under Reggie. So I think we just got to sit back and go, I think they're good, but they're not speaking as an authority. We need to stop taking it as an authority. And they're trying to leak things. Because one, they're not even acting like they're leaking things. Let's just be very clear about that. And because they actually worked at Nintendo and they seem to have a lot of respect, I don't think that they actually know anything that's coming. I don't think they've been told, and I don't think they know. And if they were accidentally told by some friend that they went to dinner with, I doubt they would even bring it up.
Yeah. Now, that all said, I think Star Fox Assault makes tons of sense. I would love to see Star Fox Assault. Right?
It'd be better than another. Bring Star Fox 64 back. Okay, can we get a different one, maybe, please?
But
That'd be
no,
great.
like I think Star Fox Assault, is so underrated. It's maybe the second. It's a top 3 Star Fox game. Top 3. Like it's Star Fox 64, Star Fox Adventures, and Star Fox Assault. Take your pick. But those are the 3 best Star Fox games.
Adventures on Wii U.
Star Fox 2 is pretty
No.
Have you played Star Fox 2 on
Star Fox Adventures? Yeah, I did play it. It's cool, but it's not a full game. It's not. It's not. I mean, there's a reason it didn't really. Anyway, like
I'll leave it alone.
Game?
For the time period that it was meant to come out, and it would have been considered a full game.
Okay. Yeah, it's a cool thing. I think it's really cool. Maybe you put that in the top 5.
The time. It was because of the timing of the release of N64. They never really.
Yeah.
Dinosaur Planet?
Dinosaur Planet was.
Is that what you're talking about?
Star Fox Adventures came up for the Nintendo
Star Fox
GameCube.
2 is
Star Fox
But it was not supposed to be
a
a Star Fox game originally. It was Thunder Sea's reference.
I know,
literally
but
wasn't
it's
supposed to be.
still a really good game.
It is a good game.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But anyway, like I think Star Fox Assault would be an amazing game to remaster. We do technically know that Bandai Namco is working on some, or at least at one point, we don't know if they followed through with it, but there were hirings for a remaster, remake, slash, because we're not, that's a gray area, right? But some kind of reworking of that Nintendo has hired them to do, and it's an action game. And so if you just break it down as an action game, there aren't that many games from Nintendo that they wouldn't be doing they themselves that would fall under action. Kid Icarus and Star Fox do, but Sakurai has been teasing Kid Icarus, but it kind of seems more like he's maybe campaigning for it to happen, right? And I think that is going to materialize into a Kid Icarus Uprising remaster at some point or another. But what I think it tells us is that maybe that Bandai Namco project is not Kid Icarus. And so maybe it's actually Star Fox Assault.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and if they did it, Star Fox Assault has like a kind of quasi cell shaded visuals. Like it's one of those games that they could easily make look really good on Switch. If they were to, spruce it up, maybe do some quality of life updates to kind of smooth out the gameplay, to kind of address some of the criticisms the game had, and then maybe bolster the online features a little bit more, give us the multiplayer features, and then give us online with that. Star Fox Assault could be a really nice teaser for a modern Star Fox game on Switch 2 a couple years from now.
Yeah. Good.
We got to get into the date though.
Yeah, the date thing.
Yeah.
Because that's like really recent.
Right. Yeah. So basically what you've written here at Mr. Dryas
It's Datre 81. It don't.
No. Oh, okay. I skipped that part because my brain. I was talking about the rumor.
Yeah, you're talking about the actual.
All right, but I guess I'll do the change
because Datre did his thing before
Yeah,
this
yeah.
happened.
All right, so I'll talk about that part first. I skipped it. So Doctor 81 noticed something pretty cool earlier this week. Basically, last year Nintendo announced their summer play event on June 14th, and then a week later, 7 days on June 21st, we had the Nintendo Direct. And there's another little part that I didn't pay too much attention to because it was Walmart of Canada, but apparently there's a history of Walmart of Canada kind of like following up, tweeting on this, and kind of maybe hinting at something. I don't know if they know anything, but people are mentioning it, so I'm mentioning it here to do my due diligence. They were part of that, and they're part of this time as well, where Nintendo has announced their summer play event. They did it 2 days ago, and so that's leading people to speculate that maybe there's a pattern here, and it's going to happen next week. And yeah, Walmart of Canada did something to the effect of like they're zooming in on like the imagery to see if there's any hints towards what could be in something, but
Yeah.
That's the basic story there. I've predicted June 12th for a while. I think it makes a lot of sense because right after Summer Games Fest, it's on a Wednesday, which when there's not E3, Nintendo does tend to do most of their directs on Wednesdays. There are exceptions though. We in 2021 we had a partner on a Tuesday, but the Xenoblade Direct beforehand was on a Wednesday. So it's take your pick, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. They're all possible. So yeah, I definitely think it makes a lot of sense. But also they could wait another week just because Nintendo likes to make us suffer sometimes.
Yeah.
So
a week before Luigi's Mansion.
Maybe. Although I would argue that if you want to shadow drop a game, whatever it is, be it Luigi's Mansion 1 or something else, perhaps 2 weeks prior makes more sense. And if it is Luigi's Mansion 1, 2 weeks makes more sense, at least from the perspective of how they handled Pikmin 4, because 1 and 2 came out, I want to say 2 weeks before Pikmin 4 released. And those are Pikmin games. Give us 2 weeks to play the older Pikmin games that were shadow dropped before we play the new release.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about Luigi's Mansion 1 being a
Shadow
game.
dropped.
Sure, I mean it's just
people want it. People want it to happen.
Yeah.
But there's more to this next week thing, and this is what gets really fascinating. And I'll share the part for you. You can just go over it though. Because it popped up over here on the gaming leaks and rumors.
This is the potential date leak or something, right?
Yes,
I'll read it. A humble insider known in the Spanish community called Mr. Dry has talked about the date of the Nintendo Direct on Twitter, dropping that it'll be next June 11. This man has already got several things right that had not seen it anywhere before, and maybe right here. He says he has good context in the industry and has been seen in the past with issues related to Silent Hill and recently with Metal Gear and Resident Evil, where in their podcast they provide a lot of information about the future of the franchise. That's interesting. I feel like we've been down this road before, though, where
absolutely
someone that we've never heard of before comes out of the woodworks, right? And apparently they have a great track record, but we having not been a part of that community, I'm not saying they don't. We just don't know.
Yeah,
right. We're not part of the Spanish Nintendo leak community, so we don't know that history, and so we kind of just take their word for it or not. And so maybe they are credible, maybe they're not.
Well, rumors are always meant to be skepticism, and so something that none of us can verify. It's just he's either right or not, and we'll know soon. Like it's not like it's something, it's not even something that he hinted it might be that day, but it could be a different day that week. I looked at the tweets. He directly said it's happening. Some people asked if he got the information from a certain thing, and he said, no, I have a real source on this. So I guess we'll find out. Now, the 11th is a widely projected date for Nintendo, and a lot of it is based on E3 history. They would always go on Tuesday after everybody else.
The last Tuesday was 2021.
Yes. So it's not like they can't do it on a Tuesday. They absolutely could. It's not like an impossibility. We have no idea. Nintendo's kind of since E3 went kaput, they've been all over the place. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It could be whatever. I personally want it to be next week because if it's the week after, it could run in, especially if it's on a Thursday. it could run into problems for me. But I really want it to be next week, so I want this guy to be right. Here's the thing, though. This is always a nice reminder that because you guys know I cover a lot of rumors and leaks on my channel, right? And for the most part, I've been covering just reliable, like people we already know to be reliable most of
And
this
people
year.
are still mad.
People always get mad. Actually,
Yeah.
people are getting less mad with the way I've been doing it recently, but we'll see if that
Good.
continues. They'll get annoyed eventually. But I haven't made a video on this one yet. I may or may not do a video on it unless I find something else more interesting. Or if people we know to be reliable just come straight out and say no. Because one person I paid attention to, and I usually don't, is RGT85, because he did a video on the Doctray video, and he said that he talked to people, and we know that he knows Nate the Hate. So I don't know if that's one of the people he talked to. He didn't just. I figured RGT is a pretty straight shooter. He'd probably just come straight out and said, I talked to Nate. He said no. But he said whoever he talked to said, no, it's not next week. I don't know who he talked to, though. And RGT85 has literally zero history of ever leaking anything ever. So, but we all know that he literally does a podcast with Nate the Hate every other Wednesday. So,
but he's also used that reasoning to say certain leaks are false, and then he's wrong.
Yeah.
Several times.
I was just throwing out there that there is other people that are like trying to cast doubt on it.
I will say though, Nate the Hate actually has been kind of like upset because people are talking about directs as he usually is. He doesn't like people talking about things until right before it's going to happen, and so he's been sort of suggesting that it's.
Who cares?
But the point is that he doesn't seem to the way if you obviously. He hasn't said anything, but he's not making it sound like it's about to happen.
Yeah. The way Nate the Hate is behaving at the moment with this, I find fascinating. Since we already know the June Direct is coming, people have been talking about it for over a month. Look, the rumors, the guesses, the speculation on the dates was going to happen regardless, but it's really going to happen when we know it's factually happening because it was pre-announced. So it's like, sometimes when they gets this way, and he doesn't get this way every time, it kind of depends on who the sources of the stuff is. But when it's people that he doesn't really know, like in this case, he probably doesn't know the Spanish person at all, right? I kind of just don't really like. This is the only thing maybe I'll say publicly that I don't really like about Nate the Hate is he gets kind of like a stop talking about things that only I should be talking about, and I hate that. He kind of gets that way a little bit when it's people he doesn't know talking about it.
I think people should just be allowed to talk about what they want.
Yeah. Period. That's it.
Exactly. Like, what's the harm? There's zero harm.
Now, it's one thing if it's one thing to like maybe be against the spread of misinformation, and I understand that, like that's fair. But when everything is clear on what's understood.
Yeah.
What's
look,
the problem?
Look, it's a rumor that it could be next week. It doesn't mean anything.
It's also one thing to say, no, my sources are saying this versus just no, don't talk about it.
Yeah, well, he's very subtle. He's like it's one of the you can just tell he's annoyed that people are talking about it. More so than saying they're outright wrong.
Well, he's not the only person. There are people who think that you shouldn't talk about the direct until we know it's like the date.
You know what I find interesting for people like that? Here's the thing. That's like telling me I can't talk about the upcoming NFL season for the Packers until we're to game day.
Until I know this.
What does that even make sense?
And the times.
Do sports fans not love speculating about their teams, what they're going to do in the offseason, all this stuff? This is the same thing with video games. People like talking about it.
Let's go back to last summer.
No different.
Every day, what were people talking about? Where's Damian Lillard going? What's the rumor? What's the report?
Miami. It's all going Miami.
What did Damian Lillard
Miami's just got to meet the asking price. It's all Miami.
Right? And that was all of NBA sports media the entire summer.
It was.
It's always like that.
And then out of nowhere, he's going to the Bucks.
Lead up to free agency.
Yeah, but not everyone likes that, and that's totally fine.
Yeah,
it's totally fine. But also, people do like it. Obviously,
people have to understand, and this is the space I exist in. Like, yes, I report on things and share things, but in the end, kind of like it's entertainment. It's meant to be something to look forward to talking about, look forward to speculating. You know, I keep asking people in comments, hey, why don't you go down there and tell me, like, what are your predictions for the director? What are your predictions for the launch of your Switch or Switch 2 and stuff? Because it's more of a conversation because people like having conversations. It's just fun.
Mhm.
Like we all recognize we could all be wrong about everything. We're not Nintendo, but it's so fun to
Yeah.
have the conversations. And then when stuff happens, look back on those and be like, oh man, how did those conversations go? Were they right? Were they way off base? Cool. Like I don't find harm in speculation. It's only harm when people start taking speculation and treating it
Yeah.
as fact.
Hmm.
Like you talked earlier. I'll just bring this up briefly. You brought up the Papageno situation because he made this is a hint thing, playable Zelda. Then he went on a podcast, and then he even hinted heavily more than he really knew stuff. And then he was going to put something in his predictions video. Then his predictions video called out everyone who said he was leaking things, and then he just straight up said, "No, this is just speculation based on research." And it's like, okay. So for me, and here's the thing. Me and Papagenos follow each other. I think he makes really good content for the most part. But he also did the same shit with the Smash Bros. Characters and was wrong about every single one. So I just kind of think that based on what he does, is that I think, while he might not ever admit it, he had multiple opportunities to stop people treating it like a leak, and he didn't do it. So I think a lot of it's for attention, and I think a lot of people out there that put out things or pretend to know things do it for attention, and that
I
part
don't
bothers
actually.
me in
I actually
WWE.
don't think that's what it is. Right. I think.
I
I
know,
mean, he's gotten things right.
yes,
Like
but he's gotten a
I.
lot wrong. You got
I
to actually
think.
look at his track record.
I'm
It's
sure.
bad.
One thing
I
you got
just.
right was a pizza.
Pizza, a Papa John's.
Yeah.
Pop.
I just think it's one of those things where. So, like, for example, right? You have journalists, right? That supposedly triple source. You're supposed to triple source, right? That is that the idea?
A lot of them double source, but yeah, triple's like you're locked in. This is the thing you think is
right.
happening.
That's when it's a report, when it's triple sourced, right?
Yeah, they'll still talk about it at 2. Now because of podcasts, they'll talk about it at 1, but they won't report it unless there's at least 2, and then they'll be like firm, this is a happening for sure.
Yeah. And so, but I bring that up though because, like, not everyone triple sources, but also not everyone's treating it as a report, right? And so maybe Papagenos did hear something, but because he's not going to just straight up say what happened because doesn't want to expose the information, he's not going to say what it is, right? He's not going to be blatant about what it is, right? And maybe it's just one source, and so maybe it shouldn't be treated as a leak. It's just a possibility because, well, when you only hear something from one place, that's not as confident as 3 places, right?
Sure.
And I think it could be as simple as that. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. It's a rumor.
Except he said it wasn't a rumor or a leak. That's the thing. He literally said it's not. That's the part. Is like he just came out and straight denied that it was that. That's what gets me, because he knew everyone was treating it that way. Then he continued to treat it that way when he had his first public opportunity to deny it. And then when he finally put his video out on it, literally said that's not what it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna just, he's his own person. Maybe we can ask.
He is his own person, but it's very obvious what he did because he's done this before. He has a history of it. It sucks.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll tell you in terms of the direct date thing, right? Like, while I logically, through research and speculation,
speculation,
no rumors or leaks, right? I've stuck with my June 12th prediction, but I am concerned because I have not heard from anyone that I've seen to have a good track record in terms of direct prediction, like Nate the Hate, for example, right? Nate the Hate is usually a good measure if a direct's about to happen, because if Nate the Hate's not feeling it, then it may not be happening yet. So that is something to consider. I would put some weight there. But we'll find out. Maybe
Nintendo's just being extra quiet this time around, because
it could be.
Well, Nate the Hate also recently, when I say recently, the last couple of years, A lot of his direct stuff has come like within days, like PRO does, of it actually happening.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's Wednesday now. I mean, it's something. If we start hearing from like PRO tomorrow,
and these days
Friday,
he'd probably do
yeah.
it on a podcast,
Hey,
and he would drop that episode. He would drop direct predictions because he does one every time. So there's going to be a direct predictions podcast, and he'll probably drop that the week that it's happening.
I hate to break it to you, Nate, but I think that those fish back there are doing inappropriate stuff.
Oh my god, they're
it's allowed on
swimming.
the Discovery Channel, so it's allowed on Nintendo Prime.
Oh my goodness.
Just to let you know.
Aren't there aren't there like songs that talking about like doing it like on Discovery Channel or something like that's crazy.
Just say
Yeah.
it's allowed in Mother Nature. It's allowed here.
I mean, is there anything else to say about like this Nintendo Direct stuff? I mean, I did kind of like blurt out all the info. I didn't really get your perspectives on it. Like, are we feeling a 2D Zelda announcement during this Direct? Like, is that something we feel like is going to happen, or
How we feeling, Steve? What do you see? You
on
deep in
2D
thought.
Zelda?
yeah?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I do, because I think we've all kind of mentioned it before that if a 2D Zelda comes out on Switch, people won't feel like, man, I wish this was saved for Switch 2. And that really resonates with me. I think that does make a lot of sense because everyone expects a 3D Zelda to launch, not at launch, right? But to come out on Switch 2. The next 3D Zelda would be Switch 2. But there's nothing wrong with bringing a 2D Zelda, I think, to Switch 1 right now. And obviously, it's going to be backwards compatible.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, you got the install base. It's going to print money. If it's a remake, great. Like if it's a 2D remake, obviously it could be a number of things. It could be the Oracle games. You already got the Link's Awakening engine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the specifics, right?
I will say this on Twitter. Papagino said it's not Oracle of Ages and Seasons.
I did see that, right? I did see that.
Yeah.
So,
But you'll be happy.
But could it be something else? Could it be? I mean, could it be the original Zelda?
That would be awesome.
I mean, I also think too, like, what do they want to put out there prior to, say, announcing the casting of the movie? Like whatever next Zelda they put out,
Zelda game,
I think is going to line up. And it's like, are you trying to craft any sort of narrative into that game that leads into?
That's a good.
Like, do you want to lay a foundation for the fans who don't know Zelda yet, or don't know it all? And like, would that be a good time to remake the original? Lay that little foundation there about the Triforce of power, courage, and wisdom? Does everybody know about that? The Triforce has been absent for a long time. So I think about that.
That's interesting.
I'm jumping on it. I think you're kind of really close to, because we are getting a movie, and who knows if we get a cast announcement in this Direct, because they did announce the cast for Super Mario in a Direct, during a Direct. Miyamoto came in and said, "Here's the cast for the Super Mario movie." That's when we found out about Chris Pratt. Everybody started laughing and yelling and everything. So there could be a Zelda game, like you said, that could actually just kind of there, and then they announced the cast for the movie too. You know,
I got a prediction. I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't want to go too crazy into it. But it's going to be a brand new top-down Zelda game.
Yeah, like
this year,
just like they did side-scrolling Mario last year, brand new. Because they don't need it to sell a new system, but it'd be great on a system with an already built install base
with OLED edition,
and
that'll sell.
And I think this is where people are going to start going crazy. I think it's going to be the third game in the Oracle series that we were supposed to get.
I saw your video on that. I was like, oh my God.
Now, people are going to go crazy because everyone's going to start assuming, that means we're getting the Oracle remakes down the line, which we very well might. We very well might. But I'm just putting it out there as a possibility, because at this point, the game would probably be changed so much from what it was going to be that you might not even initially realize that it is the third game. Until you start catching all the references that line up with those other games, and you're like, "What is going on?"
That'd be neat.
Yeah, you had a really good reason in your video as to why. Like I was listening to it. I was at the gym and I had my earpods in, and you had a really good reason. I forget what it was, but I started shaking my head like, "Oh shit, That is a good point. It
And
could
I don't
happen.
even remember now. You're stating something I said like a week ago. Now I don't even remember.
Time to watch the
That-
video.
That's how bad my week has been. I got to go rewatch my own video to
Was-
see what I said.
It was a convincing reason. I'll just say that. Like, it made sense. It
That,
definitely
I
made
must have
sense.
scripted that section of the video if it was that convincing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm on board with it to be on the 12th. I love the fact that we might get a Zelda remake. Like a remake. Yeah, that's basically what you've spoken about, right? That's it. Just those
Yeah. I don't think it's a remake. I think it's a new Zelda game. But I'll take whatever.
Yeah,
I'd love a
I'll
new
take
one.
whatever.
top down Zelda game.
I mean, watch it be a remake for like Minish Cap. Oh,
Watch it
that'd
be
so good.
Triforce Heroes 2.
I would still take it.
I'll still take it. I'll play it.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they learned from the mistakes of the first game to prevent some of the trolling in the second.
I'll say it would be kind of bad as like the premier Nintendo title for the holiday if it's Triforce.
Well, I don't know if anyone would
2.
consider a top-down Zelda as a premier holiday game, but it probably would be
Okay,
this year.
hold on a second though. We count Mario Wonder though, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Why
But
can't
Side-scrolling Mario's always outsold 3D Mario. It's been bigger.
not this gen though?
Well, no, this is the first time. Mario Odyssey is the game that broke the barrier.
All right, well, I mean, let's dive into that because I've seen some conversation on this. Like, there are people who think that Luigi's Mansion 2 is going to outsell a new 2D Zelda. I think that's just. I think that's tone deaf.
Why do you think it's tone deaf?
I can only say that to you, right? I say it everywhere else. That's like
Yeah.
extremely insulting. Because I think, if you just look at like a sales sheet, like, oh, that sold more, therefore that's better, right? That's kind of like the energy of, oh, you have like the people in the business meeting that don't actually understand the product or the people, and they
Sure.
just make decisions based off numbers. And before you know it, it no longer does well, right? I think Luigi's Mansion 2 is going to do well. I do. But I also think that we're in the end times for the Switch, right? Like Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon came out back on 3DS in its heyday. And I think that does make a difference. But also, while there are cases where remakes and remasters can do really well and sometimes better, like Miitopia, right? There are cases where they do worse. Like New Super Mario Bros. U, like that didn't like take off, right? So it might be worth looking into sales there because maybe it did better because Wii U had like a limited.
Yeah, I was
like,
gonna say
not-
New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe sold almost 17 million on Switch. I don't
All right,
know how this
yeah,
is.
Yeah,
That's
so
that's a very good example.
maybe it's not a great
There's
example.
only 13 million Wii U's, so
Maybe
it definitely
there-
outsold the
there's
original.
better.
release.
There's better example. There are better examples there.
I was gonna say
Um,
that's like a slaughter. Just
But Mario Wonder is a bigger deal than New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe.
probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Better
Right.
be.
Yeah,
I'm
I only say probably because I don't know if it's going to actually end up topping the sales of the other one. But for Mario fans, it's a new game. So yeah.
But the other thing is that so I guess it's a little tough to gauge, right? Because you look at literally, I did a poll, right, on my own channel. I mean, not my channel, my Twitter, right? And my poll, how did it go? All right, so I did a poll, right? And I only got 206 votes, but of these 206 votes, I asked, what would Will sell the most copies this year, right?
Yeah.
And I had four options: 1,000 Year Door, Luigi's Mansion 2, new 2D Zelda, new Mario Party. And Luigi's Mansion 2 was the worst in this poll. It only got 9.7%. Meanwhile, new 2D Zelda won the poll at 41.3%. And I've done this poll on YouTube as well, and but it wasn't with Zelda or Mario Party. It was just Luigi's Mansion over 1,000 Year Door. And so obviously these are just, audiences that I'm reaching, right?
Yeah.
And my audiences are more of a hardcore audience. And I think there is definitely absolutely a lot of casuals, right? People who just pick up Luigi's Mansion. But that's the other thing, though. Luigi's Mansion 3 is the Luigi's Mansion for Switch. I don't know if that audience is going to pick up Luigi's Mansion 2 the same way they picked up Luigi's Mansion 3. I think there is something for certain games, you pick up one, and that's kind of it in terms of reaching the casual audience. For the hardcores, yeah, we'll buy more than that, right? I'm like I said, I think Luigi's Mansion 2 is going to do well, but I don't think it's going to eclipse the sales of Dark Moon on 3DS. And so I look at 2D Zelda, right? And I've seen the Zelda franchise has grown, right? Link's Awakening did extremely well, like over 6.5 million, I think, right? That's
Yep.
pretty good.
It's the best selling version of the game.
And that is, and let me, and so this is something else to consider here. That was a remake, right, of a Game Boy game, and there was a lot of conversation that it was overpriced for what it was. And then there's also a similar conversation going on for Luigi's Mansion 2 right now, and it's not considered to be a very ambitious remaster. I think it's actually pretty good, just for the record. But there is that conversation, and so I think the value proposition is also different. Like Luigi's Mansion 2 at this higher price tag relative to other things out in the market, when there's already Luigi's Mansion 3 and how it appeals to that casual audience. I think that compared to a new 2D Zelda game, which I think has more potential than, say, Link's Awakening remake. I mean, I could see new 2D Zelda at least hitting 8, if not 10 plus. So, and I'm not certain Luigi's Mansion 2 hits 10 plus.
So Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon sold 6 million copies on the 3DS.
Yeah.
And then the Luigi's Mansion 3 sold 14 million copies on Switch. So I'm guessing that anybody who played Luigi's Mansion 3 might be interested in playing Luigi's Mansion 2.
I mean, I'm gonna buy Luigi's Mansion 2.
What was the install base on 3DS versus Switch?
Like 80 million.
70 million units of the 3DS versus 141 million.
That's almost a difference in sales.
Counting. So
Yeah.
So I guess I'm on the train that Luigi's Mansion 2 might do really good on Switch just because of that. Just because
We got a problem.
I think it's gonna do a lot better on Switch. I think it might. I'm gonna say 12 million total.
I think it will surpass 10.
Yeah.
I think
Guys,
it'll hit double digits.
Power went out for
Nate?
Nate, and by extension Eric, because they run the show in the
Okay.
same room. But carry on.
Yeah, we're good. I mean, so Luigi's Mansion 2, I think is gonna do well when it comes to sales. I'm with you. I don't think it's gonna beat Zelda, a new Zelda port. If we get a new Zelda game, a new top-down Zelda game, and we get a Luigi's Mansion, I think Zelda's gonna top it, just because of the hype after Tears of the Kingdom. After that, people are excited for a brand new experience with Zelda. And if we do get a traditional top-down Zelda game, that's gonna be exciting for old fans and the newer fans as well. So I'm with you. I hope they do go back to the past and go to it. And it's a new Zelda, but kind of make it feel like the beginning of it. Like Zelda 1 in a new way, right? Because this makes sense with the movie coming up, and they want to have that game fresh in people's minds when they do make the announcement. Because I believe the movie is going to be a brand new story. It's not going to be based on anything. It's going to be like on for the general population, and the general rule for the movie is to make new fans. So they want to kind of, they might promote the game as also that type of thing. You want to get into the Zelda game for the first time? Perfect game to start the Zelda, game with that brand new top down, and then you can continue playing the rest.
It would be the most accessible,
Mhm.
because it's always been said that the 2D Zeldas, right, are more accessible. Now, for us, any game's accessible, right? For
Mhm.
everyone probably tuning in to this podcast, any game's accessible. But for the mass majority, which, I would presume Nintendo would want to reach the mass majority, because it would only help that game sell. It only help the movie do better. That they would want to make the most accessible Zelda possible while still satisfying what the hardcore audience like us wants.
Yeah.
So I really, really love to see this 2D top down, whether it be a remake
Mhm.
or a brand new one. Both, I am 100% handing over my money day one for the pre-order. Don't care.